stupid, annoying, and their minds fried. That's what people who pray are. Are they, though? Let me tell you a little story. I'm in Kentucky. I was driving through the hills in southern Kentucky. Needed to go to a certain place, look at something, and I was kind of lost because all of a sudden the GPS on my iPhone didn't work anymore because I had no signal. So, and I was driving around, didn't know where to go, was driving back a little bit to the last street I knew where I was. And that's exactly how I felt with prayer at a certain point in my life. And so over the time, I stopped praying, just didn't feel right for me anymore. And I remember that driving through southern Kentucky all the time when I remember how I got back to prayer. Because over time I learned there's nothing wrong with the prayer. It was me. The way I was praying was not the right fit for me anymore. So it was kind of with this drive through Kentucky, the signal was lost. I was praying, but I didn't feel like I was heard. So, yeah, I tried to change that and came back to prayer. And it's basically the same thing with this GPS. I needed an offline map, that prayer and how I feel with praying, that it still works while I have no signal. It happens from time to time that you're not connected to whom or what you're praying, and this offline map that really can guide you through that time, and it did it for me. So that's what I'm gonna talk today a little bit about, how prayer works for you best, even if you don't believe anymore, didn't if you noticed that somehow prayer feels off to you. So um welcome to the shitty green screen podcast. And one of the core mottos for today, and what I'm doing here, is live, think, and speak. You will see that's the guiding principle through prayer and through a lot of more things. So again, welcome to the shitty green screen podcast. Um, so most people pray to God or to Jesus. So I don't know how you do it, but for me, it's like I can do it wherever I am. I just, let my mind talk to whomever I want to talk in that moment. But pick your pick now this way. Let's say you talk to Jesus on iMessage, It's like a conversation you have, you type your messages, Jesus answers. Wouldn't that be nice if he would really like give you clear directions? You can get there. Probably not as clear as with a text message, but there's a way to get there. So, picture you're texting with Jesus, iMessage, whatever messenger you're using, and then all of a sudden there's silence. He leaves you on read. So the message went through, but there's no response, nothing whatsoever. And so it's like with an argument you have in school or at work, the person all of a sudden, I don't want to say ghosts you, but they don't talk to you anymore. There's no, nothing coming back. So you go, okay, maybe the Wi-Fi is down, maybe my data plan is maxed out or so there's something technical, and but it's nothing of that. And so the thought creeps in, he doesn't want to speak to me anymore. And that's when you realize for some reason the signal is lost. Question is faith lost in this instance too? I mean, it can crash faith. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So a few days ago, you probably heard of Amazon Web Services. Amazon, you know, the website where you can shop everything, but they run huge data centers across the world. I don't know if they're doing that outside the United States, but there are some big data centers in the United States, and one of those was, yeah, it went dark. It was not the data center, it was what they call a data center cluster. So not only one data center. So Amazon.com, Reddit, Snapchat, Disney Plus, Roblox, Canva, OpenAI, all were offline. And not just a blip, you know, when you're experiencing buffering or something like that. No, they went off for hours. And so all of a sudden, just like that, 2,000 companies worldwide lost their cloud services. Just gone. Couldn't do anything anymore. It was, for many, it was kind of like, you know, like a power outage. And get this number, 16 million outages have been reported worldwide. So that's a lot. And we don't have to discuss if it's healthy for the internet, if so much services are, you know, hosted by only one company with Amazon, but that's what happened. So, no banking, no streaming, Alexa, stop talking, airline check-ins, well, there were no airline check-ins at the moment, at least for the airlines who were connected to Amazon Web Services. And the reason, that's what they call a DNS resolution failure. So basically the computers couldn't talk to each other anymore. It's like trying to call someone, but you don't remember their number anymore. Or you're trying to message a friend, but all of a sudden your phone doesn't know them anymore, you know? All chats are gone, nothing in contacts anymore, like the person wouldn't have existed in the first place. So, and that's what happened to Amazon Web Services, to that data center cluster, and that set like a domino effect in motion. One thing leads to another, it all builds up, and the result sorry, the result was a complete meltdown, total frustration. And I guess you know where I'm going with this, because that's when you talk to someone and they don't respond, maybe not total frustration, but there's definitely frustration in there when you just don't get anything back. So, this is the question. Am I the only one who's annoyed by this one friend who just takes too long to respond? I mean, you know, when you have this friend, it probably doesn't happen, you know, all the time. It happens once, maybe twice, and at one point, you know how to bridge it. You know, when they silence, when they go into silence, you probably, yeah, keep yourself occupied, scrolling through social media, back to Messenger, iMessage, Facebook Messenger, Signal, WhatsApp. That's what you check, you know? I mean, that's what I do. When I'm really waiting for a message and the message doesn't come, I'm doing something else, but I always go back. Where's this message? Is it here already? So I check all the messengers that I have, and you're probably the same. So at some point, some people doubt themselves, like, did I do something wrong? Or other people just get pissed about the other person. So question is, which type are you? Comment which type you are in the chat here, or in the comments. Let's see which type you are, and guess what type I am. So, if you're like me, then you know that one of the hardest things to endure is being ghosted by people that are important to you. Even worse, when it's someone you totally trust. You believe in, like Jesus for many people, and have you ever been ghosted by Jesus? I mean, have you felt that, like, he's ghosting you, or at least, you know, you are not so sure about it? So I would think that can stress someone out, because, if you feel really close to Jesus and all of a sudden there's silence, not the greatest feeling. So, but if you talk to someone from your church, you get explanations, And to be honest, these questions from church leaders or so, I find them questionable at best. So it's like, it may be God's will, that's why he's not answering. Or they blame it on you, like your motives are not for Jesus to consider, or you're selfish, or you're not faithful enough, or prayer is not a transaction. Well, those explanations might have worked hundreds of years ago, but in 2025, not so sure about it. It's just, using buzzwords and without saying anything real. And to be honest, it's a lot of church bell ding dong, to be honest. That's how I feel. So, because when there's one truth and you believe in Jesus, then it's that the connection between Jesus and you, it will never break. Your prayers will never remain unanswered if you contribute. So it's not a one-way street, like, you put in a request and the request is being fulfilled, like an order. Even those are not fulfilled all the time. So it's like a two-way street, You ask your prayer, but you have to contribute. You need to put real action behind your prayer. You need to make sure that the signal between you and who's listening, Jesus, God, whomever it is not lost. So, did you know there's a fix to that if the signal is lost? Imagine, let's say you have an iPhone, and if you reboot your iPhone at a certain point, the Apple logo appears, and then okay, we're starting fresh. So it's uncomplicated like that. You start, if the signal to whomever you're praying to is lost, you basically start with a shutdown, and shut down all the noise from churches, preachers, religious influencers who act like they have this direct connection to Jesus, and that dire connection you think you have lost, and you might have actually lost it in the moment, but you can easily reestablish the connection. Shut the system down, then reboot the system, reboot yourself. You know how to pray, but you might need a fresh way of praying. Pull the plug, take a deep breath, reboot. Like with the iPhone, the Apple logo will appear. And with Jesus, it's the same. His answers will reappear. He will talk to you again. So, live, think, speak. You don't need to believe to talk. You need to mean it. That is important. And you don't need faith on file, like membership to a certain church or to a certain religion even, If you talk to God, if you talk to Jesus, if you talk to someone else while praying, they don't want to see your membership card, but they have to know that you mean what you're saying, or what you're thinking in your prayer. So breathe and then find your own truth, what you really believe. I'm saying that because there's so many prayers out there you can just read, like they teach you that when you're a child, but that's not the prayer that really gets you there. That's a prayer that probably calms you down, if you need that repetition. But what it's not the beneficial prayer that when you actually ask for something that you would receive, and so it is important that you say what's real for you, not what's considered to be holy or so. And whatever you say, if you mean it, that counts as a prayer. Many people think prayer is always begging for something, asking for something. No, the prayer is foremost just a talk. And obviously, you want it to get you somewhere, so there's always some asking in there. But first of all, it's a talk, it's a conversation. So most people pray to God or Jesus. Let's stick with God for the moment. So, who is God? How can you pray to God if you do not know who or what God is? So there are answers. Who God is: the personal living being who revealed himself to humanity, the Father of all, known through his relationship with his people. That's who God is. God is revealed in Jesus Christ, the Son, and present through the Holy Spirit. What is God? God is eternal, self-existent, and unchanging, the I am, according to Exodus 3:14. And according to John 4:24, God is spirit, infinite in power, wisdom, and holiness, love, light, and truth, the source and sustainer of all life. That's what the Bible says, who and what God is. But what does that mean? If I ask you to explain to me who and what God is, you probably can repeat what I just said. But what does it really mean? I mean, can you explain it to me like I'm a first grader? So, not that I would, shut down and just accept what you say, but so I would really understand what it is. So I would say you can't. Not only because the words are, let's say, not exactly plain English, it's the sheer question of how big God is, and it starts with the question. No, it's not, doesn't start with the question. When we're talking about how big God is, so we're very quick at this point where we say God is bigger than what we can imagine. But hearing that and knowing what it really means, there's a stark difference. You can take a plane, for example, go to the other end of the world, that takes you probably 16, 18, 20 hours. That's manageable. But that's a trip. I mean, you have to prepare. You cannot just go into the plane. So what I'm saying is, even being just, at a different place on this earth is a challenge for us, and people couldn't do that like before the planes were invented. So, but there's a lot more outside this world, moon, other planets, and then we have our galaxy, and then we have the whole universe. And so we were talking about going to a different place on this earth, manageable. But if we wanted to go to a different planet, no way. You and I, we couldn't do it. So, but God is even bigger than all that. So imagine the whole universe, billions of stars, galaxies, whatever. The vastness you cannot imagine. So, how do you pray to someone, something like that, that you just can't grasp, that's so way beyond everything. So, yeah, probably a little bit, if you really think about it, God is just too big to comprehend, so people like to pray to Jesus. I mean, Jesus is our brother. We get that, don't we? A guy, very smart guy, talking to people when he was on earth, walking around 2000 years ago in the Middle East, explaining things, correcting assumptions. That makes sense. Jesus as a bridge to what we can't fathom. But here's what no one is telling you, what they won't admit. In 2025, for so many people, even talking to Jesus is just weird. So, I mean, Jesus lived on earth more than 2000 years ago, but somehow also right now. And he listens and he talks to me, and but he can't send a simple text. That's so, it just doesn't fit together for many people. So, what if you believed everything you were told when you were younger, but you don't anymore? You grew up, learned a little bit about science, about physics, and so you don't believe what you were told as a kid because now you're an adult. So, no prayer for you anymore, I guess. But maybe what if God is not a thing or a person? What if God manifests in this inner voice you have in your head, the voice that always tells you really what's right and wrong, the one that questions you when you're about to make a decision that might be convenient, but it's not the right decision. What if that is God? And the good thing is, this voice is always there. You might not hear it all the time. Signal might get lost sometimes, but it's always there. And this voice, you can call it truth, you can call it love. It still answers when you listen. And so for the prayer, it doesn't really matter if you talk to God or to Jesus or the universe or your inner voice. Talk to whatever or whomever you are sure about. That's the important thing. If God doesn't work for you anymore, or Jesus, find something you are sure about. Talk to that instance that cares enough to listen to you. It could be a friend you imagine, I mean, like a real person, but you imagine talking to them. It could be someone who's not around anymore, but you were very close. So, you probably won't believe this, but you can have a really good prayer even when you are in doubt that it works. And you can pray through doubt and still be heard. Doubt's actually part of the call. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be asking. So, let me just say this. I hate people who pray the Lord's Prayer. It's not that I hate the people or the prayer, but what I hate is the way most people pray the Lord's Prayer. It's like a jump rope rhyme when you listen to it, you know, da 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 da, and that's actually okay, but only if you're 5. You know, if you're an adult, you should put way more meaning behind any prayer, if it's the Lord's Prayer or another, you know, religious prayer, or obviously if you decide to pray like freewheeling, so to speak. And because, you know, if you're older and you're kind of not particularly settled, but you know what it means to communicate with someone, then, you know, praying like a children's rhyme, it's just meaningless, you know. And so it's important that you mean every single line, you know. And it also means that you need to question every single line, and you really need to think about it, you know, not just da 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 da. So drop me a message if you want to know a little bit more about how to really pray the Lord's Prayer, um, so it actually does what it's supposed to do. And so question is, why do so many people pray like it's a rhyme then? um, Let me tell you a story about a friend of mine. He lives north of Atlanta, almost, you know, kind of close to Chattanooga in Tennessee, and he loves his freedom. He doesn't want to be told what to do. You know, he's the kind of guy who drives a Harley. I mean, he actually drives a Harley, and so doesn't want to do what he's been told, loves his freedom, but most of the time he still does what he's been told anyway, you know, by politicians, by other leaders. I don't know, probably by his wife too. I don't know too much about their relationship. So, but it's you know, when freedom meets reality, so you have this idea of freedom, but in reality you have to follow rules like everyone else. But how many rules do you really follow? How many rules do you really need? And so I ask him, if you don't want to follow if you love your freedom so much, why do you always do what other people tell you? And you know what he said? What else can I do? That's what he said. What else can I do? And so people don't want to be told how to move forward with their lives, but life became for many so complicated that they don't really think they have a choice, you know. And so what happens is that leaders think, well, um, people like to follow. No, people only do it because they feel they have no choice. And praying helps you to sort these kinds of things out. But you have to really pray, you know, not just say any words you think would, you know, fit in the moment. Um, you have to be, you have to put power behind the meaning, and meaning for you personally, your personal meaning, what it means to you. So you're still here. Congratulations. You have all the skills needed for prayer that really works. So, faith without questions. Is that even possible? Or is it just quiet pretending? So, are you ready for this? Prayer has 3 parts. Number 1, to whom you pray. Number 2, what you pray about. And number 3, you have to allow the prayer to work. So I guess it makes sense. It's a very basic principle, but the, let's say, shocker for many people is that only one of these three things is really anchored in faith. To whom you pray, you know. Um, we talked about God, we talked about Jesus, but if you don't have those two to pray to, so to whom do you pray then? So, on the other hand, even if you don't believe, you still have two pillars in the back, you know. There's still what you pray about, and there's still the matter of allowing the prayer to work. So, most people pray to Jesus or God, who kind of is Jesus, and you can pray to either one of them. And even not the way described by a church. That's totally fine, you know. There's many disagree with me on that, but if you really go into your faith, you know, it's a connection between you and God, or you and Jesus, you know. There's no rule that there has to be like a church in between, priests in between, or something like that. It's just you and to whom you're praying to. So, um, I've written, you know, obviously I took some notes, and I've written down God is beyond everything, and they appear definitely not how you imagine them. And that makes praying to God even more complicated. You know, when you don't know who that one is you're praying to, so how do you get there? Um, Many people try to imagine God, you know. I mean, for little children, it's the old man with a long beard, you know. I don't know why I think of Santa Claus at the moment. So, but there are similarities, you know. So, a lot of people, like I said, try to imagine God, but I could say don't even try, you know. But I will say you don't have to follow any rules here. It's just between you and God, and you and Jesus, you know. And if you're no God, no Jesus, then you have two options. One, the world. Everything that's out there is an option to pray to, you know, because it's your life, it exists in this environment, you know, and so whatever feels close to you, you can pray to that. And the second option is to pray to yourself. We were talking about this inner voice, you know. This inner voice is not like just, you know, doesn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from your life, it comes from your experiences all your life, you know, what you did, what you didn't do, talking to people. So, and that's what manifests in your inner voice. And since you're not stupid, and even if people, you know, think, oh, I'm not the smartest one, but you know what you know, there's a lot of things where you think, ah, I think I know that, but there's the things that are really close to you. I mean, really, you know those things, you know, and that's what you can pray to. So you basically pray to yourself, you know. And if that feels weird, you can still imagine someone who's just really close to you, or who's like you know. And no matter what, no matter to whom you pray, you will always the link to the prayer for it to work. And so put action behind it, put your action behind it, and live, think, speak. So, let's do a little mental exercise, okay? Pick your picture. You're on the floor, a rug or something, sitting there, lying there, however you like it. And then inhale once and say something truthful, something that is true to you. Can be anything. Can be, I'm tired, I miss someone, I want peace, I feel insecure. So did you think your one thought? That's it. That was a prayer. You just prayed without trying. So we just did a little prayer practice. POV, you finally figured it out. You need more protection in your life. So let's stick with the last example a bit. So live, think, speak. So let's start with live. That's, by the way, it's a shell, a seashell, and it goes through your heart. That's where many people think life happens, you know. I know, brain and all that, but if your heart doesn't beat anymore, there's not too much life anymore left. So pause here. Between what you can control and what you can, that's pure life. Things that you can control, things that you cannot control. The world rushes, but you name what you need from it. Safety, steadiness, truth. Not escape, not some stiff armor, but firm ground under your feet. Think. Remember, fear distorts, but awareness protects. You can choose attention over panic, clarity over noise. What guards you are not walls to keep what you fear away, it's knowing where you stand. Where you stand your ground, where you stand firm. Speak. Let your words draw a circle of fire around you. Let what enters that circle evaporate. Speak up. Let your words be powerful and protective. Let them have strength, passion, and energy. Let's move through the day unhidden, unafraid, awake. Live, think, speak. So, if you could say one honest line right now, what would that be? You know, honest to yourself only, not to someone else. Well, except me, us. Type your line in the chat or in the comments. One sentence, no filters. And let's see how many different truths fit in one moment, you know? Let this be our community, not church, just human beings being honest with each other, being honest together. That's the most important thing, you know? It's not that you're talking to other people, it's just the idea of being honest together. Now, think about how you could put actual action behind this honesty line. What could you do? And if you consider Jesus to be your brother, like he's mine, how could Jesus work through you? So, noisy again here. What action line do you have? Type it in the chat, in the comments. I'm curious. We all are. So, another idea. This is why you should pray to your husband. Not Jesus, not God. Hear me out. So, there's Jennifer. She's a friend of mine. She's from the Midwest, and she's not always great with her husband. His name is Brian. And she had a hard time talking to him. So I told her, well, then listen. If you can't talk, listen. But that's not, I'm not talking about listening to when they have an argument, like, be the devoted wife and, don't say anything. No. I told her to imagine him in the future, when they would get along, when they would have been able to manage their problems. So, how would that conversation go? How would she imagine that conversation to go? Listen to that conversation. Listen to that husband, And let that, what you learn from that future conversation, influence your reality right now. So, sometimes you just have to stop the word vomit, in your mind. Think about meditation. Think about it as being a silent prayer, but not just, whispering words or something like that. No, active listening. And so this is how it works. You let your mind wander. That's how it starts. Pick your pick. I always like to go in my mind in a forest, with luscious green leaves, maybe now a little bit of Indian summer kind of vibe, and right in front of you there's a creek. You hear the water going along the creek, and you follow that creek with your bare feet. You can feel the moss, it's not cold, it's not warm, it's just the right, climate. And you walk along the creek through that forest and you observe. And once you feel good with yourself on this walk, you go to certain places. You go to places and situations that are important to you. So you follow the creek to these situations. And still, you do only observe. You don't act, you don't wish, and you don't wish that something would be different or so. You just watch what's happening and go around, in our case Jennifer, her husband in the future talking, and I asked Jennifer to watch them, but go around, you don't have to sit on your butt and be stiff or something. You can go around, but you don't say anything, you don't influence it, you just watch it from different angles. And so you can basically do whatever you want, but what is important is that your mind keeps that creek close, flowing water. That's your lifeline forward, from here and now to there. That's what the creek does, you know, that little river. And it always will lead you to the answer. So a talking prayer, you know, that's great. And it's especially great for getting things off your chest, you know, get it out there to whom you're talking to in your prayer. A silent prayer, that's a great way to find the answers. And so this is one of the most powerful prayer hacks. The fastest way to take your mind to the answer you're going for in your prayer is close your eyes, follow the creek, follow this tiny river through the forest to where the answer is. For me, like I said, it's a forest. It can be anything, whatever you feel comfortable with, but follow this creek. I've said the word now one too many times, but it's this stream of water that helps your mind to get there where you need to be. So, because you might not realize it, but your subconscious knows exactly where this answer is. So, let's stick in this forest idea. Let's stick with this forest idea for a minute. Let's think, so here's the question of the day. What heals faster, silence or speech? Again, live, think, speak. So, we end our wish with speak, so that means, oh yeah, speech is it then, right? No, that are two different kinds of things. Both can save you, but one is listening and one is the answers. So it's two sides of the same coin, but it's two different sides. So pick your pick, put yourself standing in a quiet forest clearing, surrounded by tall trees. The sunlight comes through the leaves, you know, there's some clouds you can see through the leaves, and you're there in this, in this opening. And some days I need quiet, thinking by myself, be with my own thoughts. And other days I need to hear my own voice, my friend's voice, my brother's voice, Jesus. So, if you're just thinking for yourself or asking question, either way, you show up for your soul. And let's not talk about our guy from the Bible for a minute. Let's talk about your brother or sister if you have siblings, or your very best friend, or a parent, or even someone from Discord you never met in real life, who was a rando but to whom you are so close now because they have answers. Let's talk about your person, you know, the person you always can rely on. And they help you solve all kinds of problems, all of them. So, there we have part A. Feels like word vomit, talking someone's ear off, but it's constructive advice. On the other hand, you have part B. Looks like ghosting, but in fact is active silence, forcing you to think. So, what's better? What's worth? Both are needed, surprise. Depending on what the situation is. In both cases, the solution must come from within you. Well, how does that happen? Again, live, think, speak. You live, you think, you speak. So, let me show you how you can decide for yourself if the silent meditation is the right thing for you at the moment, or a talk with Jesus or the universe or your inner self. Exhale and think of speaking, getting it all out. Inhale and think of receiving answers coming to you. You're feeling heard. So what speaks more to you in that particular moment? That's the right kind of you in that moment. So let's do a quick poll in the chat or in the comments. Type listen if it is silence that grounds you, or type speak if words help you, to breathe. Drop in the chat and comments, listen or speak, and obviously there are no wrong answers. It's what fits for you in that moment. And if I ask you, I don't know, tomorrow, there might be a different answer. So let's come back here in a while and see if there's a balance, or if the listening or if the speaking has the lead. So let's get into another situation. So I've never told you this story before. I've told you about Jennifer, but I didn't tell this story. Jennifer, friend of mine, big family from the in the Midwest, and it's the kind of situation where you need to make yourself heard to be, to be listened to. So, yeah, I guess it's a big family thing, not particularly the Midwest. So she got older. The fighting with words was not necessary anymore, So you learn your tricks along the way. You learn your ways how to communicate, and she got her own family, and it was not that big family. It's her husband, 2 kids. David, he's more the calm one, and then there's Madison. She's also not loud, but she tells what she wants. And the latest news, she's about to become a mother. And so that's not in the Midwest anymore. They moved to Los Angeles, Venice Beach. That was 3 years ago. So the story I'm telling now is a little back. So her daughter, Madison, becoming a mother, and obviously Jennifer was totally excited about that, but she was also fearful because she knows her daughter, and Madison has her own way of doing things, and that's not to say she's chaotic, but she does things differently. It's in many ways it's just a different generation, and but she questions also a lot her mom had taught her, and so when Jennifer, the mom of the soon-to-be mom, when she was 20-ish, that was when she became more and more herself. That's when she became more and more calm, and she always had Jesus by her side, but when she was in her 20s, she built a new connection, and that helped her calm down. And people have different kinds of way how they pray. In her way, it was more like the meditation in prayer that helped her. So, but that didn't help her anymore when Madison was about to become a mom herself, and Jennifer, a grandmother. So Jen sat in silence, how she did, how she learned that it would help her. So she sat in silence for a month, and Madison was doing her thing. especially after, they had a gender reveal party, and especially after that, her boyfriend and her, they were occupied, obviously. I mean, it's not, it's no surprise when you're becoming a parent for the first time. And Jennifer was fine with that. She wanted them to have their peace. And until one day, that was about a week before the due date, she called Madison and almost whispered, "I miss you." So she basically broke the silence. It was not a big argument. It was this change from listening to speaking, and um, Jennifer felt peace with herself, with the situation, with Madison becoming a mom, herself becoming a grandmother, and also Madison stepping away from their family because she was building her own family now. So for the first time, she felt at peace with that. I miss you. That's what did it. So sometimes, sometimes silence heals the body, but speech heals the heart. And that's what Jennifer experienced. So the real practice is to know when to do what. So let's go into a little practice right now. So how do you practice finding the right way to pray? If yeah, is it meditation that's the right thing for you at the moment, like meditation prayer, or is it the speaking prayer? So it's the practice is very simple. We did that before. Small reminder. Exhale and think of speaking, getting it all out. Then inhale and think of receiving answers coming to you. You feel heard. Over time, one feel more natural than the other, and that's okay. You don't have to use both hands for writing, but it's great to have both at hand. No pun intended. Um, Let me know in the chat or in the comments which one feels more natural to you at the moment. Is it the quiet meditation prayer, or is it the speaking it out loud prayer? So, um, so I don't have a great way to get to what I wanted to talk now. Let's just say it's in the prayer vicinity. This is how you talk to dead people. So, it's magic. Halloween just, no, it's not that kind of thing. Let me explain. Basically, it's reaching capabilities within you didn't know that they exist or where to find them. So, my mom passed away 5 years ago, and but she didn't leave me. She stayed with me, and I know for many people saying it that way, that sounds awkward, or even religious people. They say, "Oh yeah, I understand," but you don't really understand what it means. At least I think you don't really understand what it means until you've experienced it for the first time. So when my mom passed, and we didn't always have a great relationship. When I was younger, there was a lot of conflicts, but when we both grew older, we got closer. And I wanted to share so many things with her, but it wasn't always possible because, me in the United States, her in Germany, there are differences in culture, and not everything can be explained right away. And for example, when there was a Netflix show, like, or stand up comedy, and I love to watch those, and I wanted to convey the jokes, but well, maybe I'm bad in telling jokes, but in many times it's just, if you don't speak the language, and not every joke translates into a different language, and many jokes only work if you know where they are happening, because they are connected to behavior in society or something like that. So that's just one example that, there was like a barrier, and we couldn't get over it easily when she was alive. But when she had passed away, and she was more like my best friend, and she still is, who's there, and listens, and I can talk to. But she's not only the person she was, but she's now this superhuman being, and her being in this next dimension, um, yeah, that's how she became this superhuman being, like knows everything, and so, you know, knows English now, understands all the jokes, and so she's still my mom, but now she is at this place where you just have these superpowers, know everything, can do everything, can help people, and I feel that she helps me a lot, and I honestly am not capable of telling you how great this is, to have someone like that in your corner. And I wish that for everyone, to have someone with these kinds of strength and powers in their corner. And my mom and I, we are closer than ever, and I wanted other people to experience that too, So I want for you to have this gift too. So don't kill anyone, that's not how it works. But when you lost someone, it's really hard, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. It's not that you lost something, you did, no question about it, but you also gained so much, if you can find it. And I made a video about that. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called When They Die, and I hope it helps you the way I made it, when I had this experience with my mom, and so for the first time. And so I hope it helps you the way it helped me. So, you see that tree behind me? It's a tree on Hawaii, and and sitting quietly under a tree. Even if this is a shitty green screen right now, but I actually sat under this tree so many years ago. So that gets you thinking, and many of you heard the sad and quite honestly disturbing news about running back Doug Martin. He was 36 years old, and he passed more than a week ago. If you haven't heard it, Google it. It was all over the news, He was taken into police custody earlier that morning in Oakland, California, and after he had entered a neighbor's home in a disoriented state. At least that's what they say. So during the detention, a brief struggle occurred, and he became unresponsive, and he later died in the hospital. So live, think, speak. Grief can be strange. Doesn't always feel the way we expect it. It does not come with the words we need many times. And when someone we love dies, the words we grew up hearing, about peace, about heaven, about forever, they can feel far away, even hollow. And so the ache remains, and hopefully the love also remains. While Doug Martin's death was all over the news, May's mom basically died in silence. May messaged me when she was 45. Like so many, she grew up in a very small family, also on the West Coast. The beliefs she grew up with no longer felt like hers. Like many people, when they are younger, they believe what they are told, but the more and more their thinking gets independent, they lose their connection to their faith, and that's what May experienced too. She still lights candles when someone dies. So her mom passed away a month earlier before she wrote to me. And, that funeral, you can imagine a church funeral. It's, yeah, full of the language we all know so well. And but it was language May just no longer believed, like heaven, reward, eternal peace, and that kind of stuff. So May was grieving deeply, but the religious stuff just felt kind of dishonest. She wanted to remember her mom truthfully, without pretending to believe in something she doesn't anymore. So she needed a prayer that allowed her to ache and honor her mother's life, without this theological baggage, I call it. And so if you lost someone, drop a heart in the comments or in chat. If you want to, say their first name, and so we all can remember with you. So here's May's guided prayer, and as you listen, notice one line that stays with you, the one that feels the most true to you. So again, this is May's guided prayer. Please listen. She is gone, and I don't know where she is, only where she was, in her voice, her hands, the way she made tea, as if that small act could hold a family together. I won't pretend to know more than I do. I won't recite things I no longer believe. But I will say this: she mattered. She shaped the world, my world, just by living. She loved me in ways I'm still uncovering. So I light this candle, not for her soul's destination, but for her presence, what she gave, what she meant, what I will carry forward. This is how I say goodbye. Not borrowed, not polished, just true. And if she can't hear me, that's okay. I need to say it anyway. Thank you. I miss you. I love you. I live. I think. I speak. Don't rush this part. Let it rest in you. And you heard this prayer, ask yourself, what does this prayer want you to carry forward today? If you lost someone, if you're a fan of Doug Martin, I encourage you to watch the video I made 5 years ago. Like I said, it's called When You Die. It's on my YouTube channel. And if you're thinking of someone right now, again, write their name in the chat or in the comments, put a heart there, whisper, write, thank you, or I think of you. In this video, when you watch it, I talk about that moment when the world just stops and everything inside you goes quiet because you lost someone. It's about that deep emptiness, that unbearable silence when you realize they're not coming back. But then it turns around because even though they are gone physically, you realize they are still with you, just in a different way. It's their yai. A lot of people compare it to the soul, but I call it a yai because it's not a religious thing, it goes beyond that. So we can talk about that another time. So it's their yai that doesn't disappear. Simply it changes form. Their soul moves beyond space and time, like light, like stardust, yet they stay close, guiding us, teaching us, helping us move forward. The video goes into how we can still talk to them, not through words or sound, but through thoughts, memories, and dreams. And I show you how in this video by focusing on your mind and carrying those thoughts into your sleep. You can actually connect with them on another level while you sleep. It's not about ghosts or fantasy or magic. It's about love, energy, and awareness. I want you to understand that connection doesn't end with death. It just transforms. In the end, the message is simple. Take the worst moment of your life and turn it into something meaningful that you love. Let your love become your bridge. Because love is what makes it possible to still live with them. You live, you love, you speak. I'm sorry, but Jesus doesn't want to talk to you. Yeah, that was something Grace heard from a friend. Grace is 14, so she's I only know this story from her mom, and Grace was in some church group, and she and a friend were fighting, and the other girl said at some point, Jesus doesn't want to talk to you. So yeah, as you can see, I'm old, and for us old people, it's not easy to understand how how lives of teenagers are these days. Um, I get stories told, and so there's a lot of that's not it's not a statistic I have or so. It's just what I experience with friends, with family, with people I talk to, and so there it seems that there are a lot of teenagers who just feel lost, kind of thirsty for meaning. They want meaning in their life but can't find it, and a lot of them who don't fit in a box, they get this ADHD label slapped on them, and so even if they are close to spirituality, prayer, it's it's very hard for them, as far as I can tell. Even plain meditation, it's harder and harder when attention spans get shorter and shorter, not, and that's not only for the kids. We old people experience that too. So, and it's you go on reels, your For You feeds, um, they are funny, they are fun, a lot of colors, sounds, 6 7. um, so how can you sit in silence? I mean, you need some form of silence for a good prayer that really works for you. So how does that happen? So I mean, I don't have to tell you this. Kids and adults in 2025, our experience is that everything feels good and well as long as we are occupied, with our For You feed, with watching a stream, messaging, being in school, doing schoolwork, or being at work, doing that kind of work. So as long as we're occupied, everything is fine. But when the silence creeps in, a lot of us experience, and I'm that way too, you can't stand it. You can't stand the silence. So you try to fill it. And that's okay. Um, if you once in a while can fill it with talking to yourself, um, and in a way that it doesn't feel awkward. So, um, prayer, let me tell you this, prayer is one of the best things to fill this void, to fill this silence. And it works on so many levels. So, I strongly believe prayer is for everyone. You don't have to believe in God or Jesus or different religion. Prayer is for everyone. And religious people would say don't have to believe in God because God believes in you. But remember at the beginning, what is God? Who is God? So it might work for you even if you say to yourself, I don't believe in God. So, turns out Jesus does in fact want to talk to you. So I know it's a stretch for people who are not spiritual or not religious, but we're not talking about the guy who was wandering across the Middle East 2000 years ago. We're talking about something supreme that can be in you. So let's just stand that way. I'm gonna explain it a little further. And so that's the important answer that Grace had to understand. Jesus does want to talk to you, Grace. So don't worry. So I guess prayer did not help. So the green screen here is still shitty. Still the shittiest green screen in the US. Yay! But maybe it's because I didn't really pray on it. So that could be the reason. So try this with me. Live, think, speak. That's at the heart of every prayer. Live it stands for letting life be the thing that teaches you, not just when it's beautiful, especially when it's not. Then think, listen inwards, trust your own knowing. It's not always loud, but it's always yours. It's always there. And speak, say what is true. Not just know that it's true, say what is true. Not to impress anyone, but so you don't disappear in the mass. Say it out loud so anyone can see you not disappearing, standing for it. So, Hawaiian tree, that's my pick. You pick your picture. let's go through live, think, speak. Live. That means you don't just exist. You're not just there. Living means going out there, doing things at home, experiencing things. Be um be forceful in what you're doing, you know? You've probably heard that saying, "Oh, life taught me this and that," you know. That's exactly what it is, you know. Um and it doesn't have to be like this huge kind of experiences. Like, you don't have to travel the world, even if that is a good thing to do. But what I mean is, live your life with your family, with your friends, with the people you hate, you know, experience that too. Think about it. What does that to you? Learn your lessons. That is life. Opposed to just listening to someone telling you something. So even if you're listening to me right now, that's fine. But when we're done talking, go back, live your life. Ingest, digest, do it as full as you can. That does not mean you should go crazy. That does not mean you should do the weirdest things. But life is like a buffet that has so many offerings for you. Don't be afraid to pick those, you know? So, yeah, live your life to the fullest extent possible. Stay healthy and all that, you know. Like I said, don't do weird or don't do dangerous shit. Do weird shit. Don't do dangerous shit. So, and think. Don't be constrained, you know. So, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. I maybe should listen to this guy or that person. No, think for yourself. Based on what life taught you, I'm not, you know, I'm really not against education. Educate yourself if you want to, you know, and I mean beyond what you've learned in school or so, you know. Read things if you want to, experience things, but that's not the only thing to get knowledge, you know. And so use all that kind of knowledge, and the distinction is the true knowledge, you know, not what feels good in the moment, like, you know, when you've been rage baited or so, you know. No, when you're by yourself and think things through, that's the important think part, based on what you know and what you really know is true or not. And if you're not sure, then test it if it's true, you know. And then don't hide, speak. If you find your truth, speak your truth, you know. It does not help if everyone's just talking about, you know, the silent majority of whatever. No, the majority is only a majority if they really speak. So speak your truth. um so here's the truth, my truth at least. When you actually start living your life to the fullest of your potential instead of just existing, when you put in the work and fire up your brain engine, you know, you read, you talk, you listen, you digest what you've learned, and you start to think independently and are critical of what you've been told. This too, you know, you cannot just go, oh, that sounds nice, or oh, that's something new, or that sounds fun, or it sounds true. No, you need to get to this feeling where you know it is true, you know. And so be critical of what you've been told. And when you raise your head and calm your voice and you speak your mind clearly, then your life becomes more and more complete, successful, happy, and just right for you. So that's living, thinking, speaking. So keep living your life, show up for it, all of it. Listen closely to what your heart and mind already know and say it out loud. Simple, honest, yours. If that sounds right for you, then guided prayers are your path there. So, what is all can pray? Earlier I told you I strongly believe everyone can pray, no matter what religion or if any religion at all. So, that is the most important message for me for today. All can pray. It's for everyone. Prayer is for everyone. So, all can pray isn't a belief system, it's a way to show up for yourself, for the ones who are important to you. I bet you didn't know this about prayer, but some words don't preach, they keep you company. So pick your pick. My suggestion this time is a church with beautiful, colorful windows, not necessarily with religious scenes, but with the most beautiful colors you can imagine. So, some words don't preach. Some words don't preach. They keep you company. All Can Pray does that for you. Every Sunday, you'll receive 7 short guided prayers through which you will be guided by me. Each prayer is grounded in the live, think, speak approach, a tool for navigating real life without pretending, performing, or withdrawing. So there are no sermons, no corrections, just one guided prayer each day to help you move through the week grounded, speaking what's true, and acting with meaning. These guided prayers aren't just words, they are bold acts of conscience by you being or becoming bold. So, because each one asks you to live, to think, to speak with honesty to yourself. So hit the link tree here. Yeah. Start with your 3 free guided prayers today. Like I said, they're free, so test it out. There's no faith or belief required, just you breathing, thinking, living on purpose. Every reboot starts with one honest sentence. So, this is why I should pray to a beer can. Yeah, let that sink in. If you believe in God or Jesus, scroll away for a minute. This is for people who don't believe. So, there's Larry. He's a trucker. I met him on Discord, and I actually don't even know if he's real or if he just made up his persona. But Larry, truck driver, this was the story he was going with. And so at one point we were talking about prayer, and that was when I rediscovered how powerful and effective prayer can be outside religion. So I told him, how helpful prayer is to me, and how powerful it is, and how it is kind of a superpower, and he just laughed at me, like, I mean, if you pray and if you're talking about praying, it's not a new experience. So he laughed at me. kind of nasty in a way, but okay. And so I said, I'm going to prove it to you. And asked him, what do you love the most? And he said, beer. So I said, okay, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in Jesus, you don't believe in the universe, pray to your beer can. And I explained it to him, and I'm not sure if he really prayed to his beer can, but maybe to the beer mascot or Mr. Budweiser. I don't know. So, dear Bud, I mean, actually could work, you know. So, um, to be honest, um, it's about praying to the one entity that means just everything to you, you know, and the one entity that you love the most. If it's Jesus, if it's God, perfect. If not, perfect as well. Just a little harder to imagine, you know, but on the other hand, God isn't that easy to imagine either. So, depends on you. Prayer is not someone else solving problems for you. It's going to the inner and outer strength. It's going to the inner and outer strength you have in you. So it's basically you're doing it yourself. That even, you know, if you believe in God and he solves your problems, he's still doing it through you, you know. So, and if a beer can is that for you, well, then it's the beer can who has the power to give you that kind of strength. And so don't become an alcoholic now. You know, we're talking about the can, not the beer. Um, let's take this example. Prayers protect you from being afraid. Okay, so many people believe that, and I know it to be true. So, but how does that work? Um, with prayer, you get closer and closer to what you fear, and so fear becomes from the unknown the known, and what you know you usually don't fear that much, you know, and so fear disappears. And so if it's a beer can, a Coke can, whatever, if there's something, it might be, you know, if you're a football fan, it might be a football, for example, or the football your team played last and you were able to get it or so. I don't know. So, if a beer can gives you that strength, a beer can it is. So, I know it's a very silly example, and like I said, please don't become an alcoholic now. We're talking about the still closed beer can, and if the beer can it is, well, enjoy your prey. So, again, live, think, speak, and we lived today, we thought, and we spoke, and we were talking about what to do when the connection fails. We leave the AWS data center problems with Amazon, but today we know better how to reconnect than yesterday. How to reboot our connection to whom we pray, Jesus, the universe, even ourselves. We practiced when to meditate silently and when we need to talk, when we need real answers. And again, if you lost someone, I encourage you to watch my video when they die. So, we had this picture in mind of a church, beautiful windows. Let's now step out of that church. Remember, every reboot starts with an honest sentence. Mine for today is all can pray. All means not only religious. Can stands for you don't have to, you know. You know it's a strength you have and you access this strength when you need it, but you're not forced to. So there's no schedule for praying. You do it when you feel like it. Everything else is religious organization. That's for them. That's not for you. So, you know, you can pray. And once you recognize the benefits, I guess you don't want to miss them anymore. So, and then there's pray. Not necessarily the religious poems, but at least one honest sentence. That's all it takes. So, it doesn't have to sound holy or like a religious poem, but it has to be true to you. So, if what we did today helped you even a little, take the next step. Go to czmsystem.io, czm.system.io /3 free prayers, and there you'll find 3 free guided prayers ready when you are. You find that in the link tree, by the way, too. Yeah, also in the YouTube profile and the link tree. You can see it here, linkter.ee/CHRIZZUS. And so we stepped outside the church in our minds. We're out in the sunshine, maybe some clouds. And this is how you want to feel when you receive the 7 guided prayers. You know, each week we share 7 new guided prayers, one for each day of the week. Each one grounded in a real moment, each one written to meet you right where your life actually happens, not in some sacred room, but out there, where you work, where you are with your family, where you travel. These guided prayers are shaped around the situation they speak to in the moment, always drawn from real life experience, and the kind, that's been felt, not filtered or orchestrated or so. So hit it now, the link tree /CHRIZZUS, there you find the 3 free guided prayers. And so let's mentally go to the evening when it gets dark outside, the sun sets. So that's our bridge, my bridge, to the next time we see each other. Next time we'll go a little deeper. We'll slow down and unpack what prayer feels like once you start really living, thinking, and speaking. Think of it as part 2. Don't be confused by this part 2. That's just because we had a technical glitch. Yeah, think of it as part 2, the conversation after the signal returns. Thanks for letting me be part of your journey. Live, think, speak. So, all can pray. That was my first live stream. Let me share some information and some afterthoughts with you. So first of all, you'll find all the links. The best way, to get on my social media is in the link tree. It's in my YouTube channel in the links too. But the link tree, that's the one I'm always keeping updated. And if you want to support what we're doing here, go to buymeacoffee.com/CHRIZZUS. And yeah, I was very what I really hope people would get is when they're hit by silence, when they think prayer doesn't work anymore, and so like the silence creeps in, and oh, I have a technical thing to do here. It's kind of new to me, everything, so that's why I'm looking a little stupid. So, um, yeah, when your prayer hits silence, um, don't think of it as absence. It's think of it as a call to speak truth, not habit, not the poem kind of prayers, but your prayers. So it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to make sense in the first place, to whomever you're praying to. They don't judge you for grammar or being it a great story, It's the best companion you can have to speak to. That's the one you speak to in a prayer. And so I understand people, for many it starts, prayer doesn't work anymore and faith disconnects at times, but that's okay. What matters is that you reconnect with something that feels true to you. You don't have to connect back to your, let me call it, old religion. But you have to connect to what grounds you and what guides you. And yeah, if 60 seconds of honest prayer brought you calm, our practices, if that brought you calm, yeah, that's exactly what All Can Pray is made for. So, like I said, 3 guided prayers, free, ready when you are. So, yeah, if you ever stop praying because your faith got too complicated, this is for you, It's for people who left church, but who want to still be, connected to something or real with something. So, yeah, watch the stream. It's a little long, I understand, but that's what you should listen to or watch. You don't, yeah, it's, by the way, it's, you don't have to watch it. It's completely enough if you just listen to it. So there's, America's shittiest green screen, so there's not much to watch, So All Can Pray isn't about getting belief right. It's about staying honest with yourself, with life, And you don't need to believe harder, You need a better way to show up for yourself. So All Can Pray. That's each week you get 7 short guided prayers, one for each day. They are not sermons, they are not poems, just grounded words to help you live, think, and speak on purpose. And they are built to be used, not performed. So they are a tool, not a show. They are real prayers for when everything feels too much, when words fail, or, for example, when beauty surprises you. It's not a belief system, it's a way to show up for yourself and even for others. Each prayer is a small act of conscience, a way to stay clear and honest in a noisy world. Yeah, and that's actually what I love about it. It meets you there, it meets you where you are, and that's in doubt, that's in chaos, that's not when you're at your best, doubt, chaos in the middle of your real week. So I'm inviting you to join. You can start with the 3 free guided prayers. It's not preaching, there's no pressure, just words that stay with you. And if your beliefs, faith are broken, but something in you still wants to connect, this is the bridge. So, All Can Pray is less than what you spend on a coffee. So in a month, and it gives you 7 honest resets every week. So it's not about getting back to religion, it's about getting back to truth, to your truth. So, yeah, some words don't preach, they just keep you company. So if you're done performing faith, but not done seeking meaning, all can pray is the exact right thing for you. Yeah, so live, think, speak on purpose.